Hi there, everybody. Let's see here. I'm gonna switch this to gallery so I can see all your faces. Awesome. Oop, Camilla's coming in. Hi, everybody. Holy cow, we got a full house today. Everybody's very excited to learn about ChatGPT and editing. I love it. When I first started teaching ChatGPT about almost 2 years ago now, it was a much quieter space. Hi, Camilla. How you doing?
Hi, good.
Terry,
How are you?
good. I'm doing good. Hi, Ian. Wow, we have so many people today. It's so fun. So today we're going to be talking about ChatGPT and editing secrets because chat is literally like my best friend with everything. So if you haven't been using ChatGPT, this will be a really good introduction, and I will walk you through prompting and things that you can do in order to utilize ChatGPT, and you're going to love it. Okay, that's probably as much as I do. Maybe not as much because I use chat for everything. All right. Melissa says, I love your chat stuff. Oh, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and screen share because I did do slides. We're going to also do um, a live sort of. I went through and created some prompts that I wanted to be able to show all you, and then ChatGPT's answers. And sometimes when you have a larger prompt, it takes a little bit longer for it to populate the answer. And so I just went ahead and did the three major prompts, and then I'm going to show you what it said to me so that you can see that live. All right. So here we go. We're going to be talking about those ChatGPT editing secrets. And for those of you who are new here, if you don't know me already, my name is Carissa Andrews. Most of you, I've seen your faces, I've seen your names, so I think you probably do know of me. But we got more people coming in. I gotta let them in. There we go. And so I have been doing this for quite a while. I'm an author as well as a CEO of Author Revolution and the Neurodivergent Manifester. I've published over 30 books at this point. And I have been using ChatGPT personally for, like I said, 2+ years, teaching it for about 2 years. I love it to pieces. So now I help authors make sense of how to use ChatGPT and turn it into your number one publishing tool because it it can literally do anything, I swear. It's pretty amazing. When I first started teaching, I did not believe it could even help you write books, but it can. It definitely can. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the three levels of editing, the three main levels, and how you're going to be able to do it with ChatGPT. We're going to talk about prompt secrets for killer results because it can really, knowing how to prompt chat is going to help you get the best information possible. It's really beneficial. We're going to talk about when to trust ChatGPT and when to step in and reprompt or push back. And then we're going to do some real-time walkthroughs. Like I said, there's this whole process that I've gone through. It's not real time as in like I'll hit send and we have to wait for it, but it is real time in the sense that I will show you what it said. And now this stuff isn't theory either. This is stuff that I do personally and have been working with my own books. I'm still writing books every single year. This year alone, I've written one already. It's going to be published in July. I am in the process of writing two nonfiction books. So all of this can work for all of the processes, all the types of genres, and we're going to talk about how to be able to prompt chat for your specific type of genre as well. So why ChatGPT and why now, right? Well, chat it's a game changer and it has been for a long time, especially for authors who maybe are neurodivergent and they have executive function challenges, or those of us with tight budgets who are trying to clean up our manuscript as best we can, and we want to make sure that when it goes to the real editor, you don't have to do, let's say, developmental edits. You can send it on to a line editor only or just a proofreader, depending on where you're at in your journey when it comes to who you use and what you do, right? ChatGPT is definitely best when it comes to developmental editing, but it does spectacular in all the things. But I will tell you a little bit more in a minute. And so we use chat for clarity on story structure because not all of us have like the full breadth of knowledge of what it takes to write a book, right? Especially if you're a new author and you don't quite understand story structure just yet, you're going to understand your story structure in a brand new way with ChatGPT. It's amazing. So it can call you out on things that are missing. It can help you with reader expectations. It can do so much to be able to get you on track for your specific genre as well. Obviously, faster editing because it allows you to take chunks of your book and be able to edit it, a chapter at a time, a scene at a time. It can do a whole book, but I do recommend breaking it into smaller chunks, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And then, of course, we got cheaper. It's cheaper than hiring all those different editors. So if you're the type of author who needs all three, so if you need the developmental edits, if you need the line edits, and you need the proofreading, it can get a bit expensive, right? And so when you use ChatGPT, you can utilize it to get it as clean as possible before you send it to whichever editor you hire. And most of the time, then it becomes just the line editor is what we're going to be hiring. And the proofreaders, for the most part, tend to be our ARC readers. So they don't necessarily have to be hired to proofread. Plus, when you're using ChatGPT, you are in full control of this process. Not that you aren't when you hire an editor, you definitely can be. But I think when you're doing ChatGPT as you're writing, even like for me, I will constantly be asking Chat some of these questions, these developmental questions for sure, when we're going through and writing the chapters. So you don't have to wait then until the book is done to get the clarity like you would with a developmental editor. You can do this like section by section, chapter by chapter. You could do 3 chapters at a time. There's all sorts of ways you can mix and match the way that you create your process for yourself, whatever works best for you. And of course, it also helps neurodivergent authors avoid burnout, helps all authors avoid burnout because we're juggling so many different things all the time as authors. We have so many different hats that we're wearing, and it's only gotten more crazy as time's gone on since I first began being an author in 2010. So as we add more hats, it's very easy for us to get stuck or to completely burn out and crash out, and it's not what we want to do. So having a tool like ChatGPT to help us gain clarity, move faster without losing our voice, without losing our integrity for what it is that we're trying to say, like that's super important. So let's talk about those 3 levels of editing. I've already touched on them briefly, but there's the developmental edits, which is going to be focusing on that larger picture of your story, right? It's going to make sure that your plot, your pacing, your character arcs, they're all cohesive and they make sense, and you don't have any, dangling plots that you started and didn't finish. It's going to help you maintain that kind of idea for this is for both, right? So if you're sending it to a developmental editor, that's what they're looking for, and also ChatGPT. Then you've got your line edits, which are going to be refining your language. So this is your sentence structure, your grammar, the clarity, tone, but keeping your voice intact is the key. And you can definitely prompt ChatGPT to make sure that your voice stays consistent and your voice is prominent. It doesn't whitewash or change out your tone or structure at all. And then proofreading. It polishes up the final draft by catching those striking typos, the grammar issues, punctuation stuff, and formatting inconsistencies. So that's those are the 3 levels that are really beneficial. So prompting ChatGPT for the best results, because you don't want to flatten your voice and you don't want editing that sucks, is super important. So I'm going to give you a formula up front, and then we're going to go through kind of how this all works in real time. I'll show you my ChatGPT over here on my other monitor. But the structure really is, I want you to start out whenever you're using ChatGPT. Now, this situation is going to be if you're using ChatGPT just straight up. So if you're using Chat 4.40 or 03, like whichever one you're using, and you're just using a single chat thread. This is not necessarily if you have a custom GPT for your books or your series, or if you have a project for that book or series. There's different rules there, and I'm thinking we might have a different class just on like the difference between those and why it's important. So this is just if you are using a straight up chat, you're new at this situation, you don't necessarily have to always do this every single time if you have the custom GPT or the projects. So I want you to be specific about what their role is. Are they the developmental editor this time? Are they the line editor? Are they proofreading? What are they doing? So when you prompt, you're going to say you are a whatever. I have a little bit of allergies going on, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit today. Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm going to mute for just a second. Wow, talking really makes your throat tickling. Okay. It's making my eyes water. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, I think I got it under control. Okay, so you're going to call out your genre and your tone because you want the developmental editor, the line editor, whoever, to know exactly what kind of book you're writing. So for me, with the example that I'm going to be showing you, is a steamy rom-com, and there are enemies to lovers. And so you want to be able to give it the tone so that it knows what you're looking for. And when you do that, it allows you to be able to, wow, my voice is completely leaving. It allows you to be able to access the part of ChatGPT that understands that kind of voice and structure. Because obviously, if you're writing steamy rom-com with enemies to lovers, it's way different than if you're writing thriller with a political bent, right? Completely different animals. And you're going to want to limit that scope. Now, the reason we're going to limit the scope when it comes to any kind of edits in ChatGPT is because you're going to get more in-depth information the smaller the chunks are. You can do a larger thing, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You can do the whole book like when you're done and have it like sweep through your entire manuscript. But then you're going to be getting very broad stroke information, and you're going to want to call out specifically what is it that they're looking for. So if it's character arc, if it is pacing, if it's the way that the sexual tension is, whatever it is, it can definitely do that. But if you're wanting that real gritty information, you're going to want to go scene by scene. Okay. And then you're going to guide the intention, like I said. So what's the emotional beat or the purpose of editing this particular part? Because when you can give it the guidance it needs, think about ChatGPT, kind of like your assistant who knows a lot, but who maybe doesn't know a whole bunch about your specific book just yet. And so when you're starting out, that very first prompt, you're trying to give it as much context about what you're expecting of them. So if you're a boss and you have a brand new employee and you're trying to give them information about what you're expecting from them, you need to give them as much context as possible. Otherwise, you're going to get either mediocre results or you're going to have chat like basically coming back to you every 5 minutes going, okay, what do you need now? What do you need now? And so if you can get as much clarity up front to chat, the context it will have is going to be all the much better. Okay. So the prompt is going to look kind of like this. You are whatever the type of editor who specializes in the genre or tone or both. Your job is to, and then whatever it is that you're asking it to do, please give, and then you give it specific instructions while preserving like my voice, my tension, the emotion, the emotion for it. When you can structure your prompts this way in the initial upfront aspect of it, it allows chat to narrow its its scope so that it can give you the answers that you're really looking for. It's not a mind reader. And while it does get better the more you use it, because it's going to start to understand the way that you prompt things, the way that you talk, what you're kind of always asking about, thinking about. If you're new to ChatGPT, especially in this type of capacity, it doesn't have the context about you yet either. And now this works in both the free version and it works in the paid version. The paid version does get more information, so it loads a lot more information in the back context window of who you are to ChatGPT. But it will learn a whole bunch about how you prompt, what your story is about, the more you're using ChatGPT. And so the best thing to do is keep everything into one specific chat window if you don't have a project or a custom GPT. Because if you're bouncing into new chats every single time, now you have to retrain ChatGPT on what it is that you're asking for. And chat upgrades itself a lot. And if you really like a specific tone or the way that it's responding to you as well, if you move to a different chat window, it's going to have slightly different tone because it's upgraded. It's a different version every single time, pretty much. And so use the same chat window if you want to get the same type of like responses. And if you want a specific type of response, for instance, a tone, like if my husband Colin, he likes to do where his chat GPT like is kind of snarky back to him. So he has like a snarky tone. He's like, okay, chat, give me answers on this thing, but be snarky about it, like be funny and make it fun. You can tell chat how to respond or speak to you about whatever it is it's delivering information. Do you need them to be more gentle? Do you want it to be kind of the kind criticism? However you want chat to be able to respond to you, you can also let it know that too. And for me, it's like I like to have that honesty. I like to see specifically what I'm doing, but I like to have a little personality in the way that chat works for me. And so I like to do some of that fun stuff. Okay, I have a question here. John says, which paid version tends to be best for this purpose? Honestly, Plus is fine. The only thing that I've seen with, I think it's called Pro is the next level up, if I'm remembering right. Um, Let me just see. Yeah, I think it's no, the Pro is the 200 one. They have an upgraded version for ChatGPT 4.0. And if you go up to that one, the only difference there is that you have more access to the O3 and the O4. Is it O4 mini? 4.0 mini, maybe. Yeah, 4.0 mini. No, O4 mini. Oh my gosh. They give these weird numbers, I swear. Um, so what those different types of chats can do is different. And so each type of chat GPT is going to give you a little bit more in-depth information. So O3 can do a lot more deep research than 4.0 can. And O4 mini is a little bit different as well. I haven't really played around with O4 mini. I've done 4.0 and O3. If you're looking for true deep research mode, O3 is great, but you're limited to, I think it's 50 prompts back and forth per week. So just as an FYI on that. Super cool though. It does a lot more. It can go more in depth than even 4.0 can. But I'm still using 4.0 for most of my day anyway. Okay, so let's talk about the developmental edits because this is those big picture breakthroughs. It's going to help you, again, identify those plot holes, the pacing issues, and emotional gaps. It's going to clarify your character's motivation and story arc. You can strengthen the tension and narrative flow. And you can ask questions like, does this scene move the story forward? So, I mean, some of us, when we're writing, especially in the beginning, we just write by the seat of our pants. And so there are some scenes that don't necessarily need to go in there. It was just fun to explore as the author. And so it can help you identify those areas too when you ask questions like, does this scene move the story forward? So a prompt that would be for this type of an editor would be like this. This is just an example. You're a professional developmental editor who specializes in the genre of choice. Your job is to analyze this scene for big picture issues like pacing, character motivation, emotional arc, and story structure. Based on the excerpt below, give me 3 to 5 specific suggestions for improving clarity, engagement, and genre alignment. If anything feels off for this genre, please let me know why. Okay. So, oops. So now I'm going to show you the ChatGPT. Okay, let me switch over to my chat here for you. Okay, so can everyone see ChatGPT? Is it showing up for you guys? Yes? Okay, great. So for me, I'm actually inside of a project, so that's why it looks a little bit different for you. And the reason I did that is because I have this particular book already. It knows a lot of information about Dirty Developments and the series that this is under. As you can see, there's project files. So I've included things like character sheets, which is something that I do recommend if you ever want to like create a book or create a series with chat. Creating a project or creating a custom GPT is the best way to go because it's going to understand the context of the series if you add the other books. So I have 2 other books prior to it. So Dirty Plans, Dirty Books. Those are books 1 and 2. It's got the characters for this book, the 2 main characters. And then I've also included the final draft of Dirty Developments when it was finished so that it has all that context. And it's not final. I actually haven't fully edited it yet. So here we go. Here's the context for the developmental edits. If it can think, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of information it gave me. Hang on, let me go all the way up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Oop, that's not it.
Oh,
Developmental edit. Let's see.
okay.
It's being silly.
Yeah, I'm just waiting until she's done
It is
eating
actually
the
not
rest of
loading it right. That's weird. It's putting it in the wrong one. Okay, well,
Yeah. So you haven't left yet, huh?
mm, I don't know why it's saying that.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go back over and I guess I'll have to find my prompt. I did actually save it, so that's super weird.
I think I'm pretty welcome. Okay.
Okay, I'll just start it from scratch here and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in here. Here's my prompt. You're a professional developmental editor who specializes in steamy romantic comedies, particularly those with strong enemies to lovers dynamics. Your job is to analyze the following scene for big picture storytelling elements like character motivation, emotional tension, pacing, yada yada. Please provide 3 to 5 specific suggestions for improvement. I want you to focus on these things. Moments where the tension between the characters could be heightened, missed opportunities to deepen emotional stakes or clarify motivation, any pacing issues that disrupt the enemies to lovers buildup, suggestions to reinforce genre expectations without making it cliche. And so then I pasted the scene, and this is my opening prologue. And so we're going to go ahead and do that and see how long it takes. I'm not quite sure why it's glitching out. It's been that kind of day, I'm thinking. There we go. Okay, so it starts right away giving information. It kind of gives you, chat is always kind of the confirmation bias unless you prompt it to do something different. So if you really want it to be in depth and say, like be, I don't know if harsh is the right word, but if you really want it to be harsher than just giving confirmation bias, you can prompt it to do that as well. Okay, so it's going to give you the information, it's going to give you an overall impression, and then it goes into the developmental
So you're
suggestions.
done eating?
It lets you know what areas need to be updated or could be updated for better performance. So you can heighten emotional stakes. I can deepen the motivation for her because she's like fleeing the scene in this particular one. There's an envelope that could have a stronger symbolization. And then to sharpen the enemies to lovers banter during the scene, it gives a lot of information. As you can see, it keeps going, and it takes a little bit of time. So, but what's really cool about this is the context window and the amount of information that it gives you now versus what it was like 2 years ago is incredible. There's so much information that it can disseminate for you, and it just helps you to figure out really what you want. It does not change anything for you. It just gives you the things to work on. So if you decided, okay, I like this, like I like any of these informations, like the examples or whatever that you're using, you could say, okay, chat, I love all of the examples you gave me. Can you rewrite the scene with those in and then just show me where they were added, or, put them in brackets or something so I know exactly where the added or edited aspects are. And so this is just the first prompt. From here, you go back and forth and you let it know, which parts you want, which things you want to sharpen. If you take its suggestions, sometimes for me, what I will do is I'll come back over to Scrivener. I'll do like a line and I'll be like, oh, I really like that, or I like the way that this was working. And so then I'll rewrite it and then I'll copy and paste it again, be like, okay, this is how it changed. Do the same thing. How's this looking? Is this any better? And I allow it to kind of give me more feedback on how that particular aspect of it worked. The the developmental edits that chat can do have made my writing so much better because of this process and understanding how to deepen the POV and to be able to get the emotional resonance that I'm really looking for. So it's a fantastic, fantastic tool when it comes to all of this. And it always ends with like some sort of question, right? So would you like me to show you how this would work, right? So if I revise a small sample, it might be fun to see even just 2 to 3 small tweaks could heighten the punch. So it will let you do that, or you could just answer and say, "No, here's the revised scene. What do you think now?" And just go back and forth. It's literally like having a conversation with your best friend who just read the book. Okay.
My Zoom's on. See you later.
Okay. So, oops. Now we're going to go back to the slide. So that was the developmental edit side. let's go over to the slides here. Okay, so like I said, do you want to developmental edit the whole book? You can absolutely do that, but it's going to be very broad strokes. And you're going to need to know exactly what you want chat to look for in the PDF. And you can upload the PDF right in the main chat window, or you can add it to your project or your custom GPT so it has the information. You could say, access this PDF and let me know, what you're seeing. So if you don't have a project or a custom GPT, you can just put it into the actual chat itself, and you're able to get information that way as well. And when you do that, like I said, it's just broad strokes, and you need to know that it's not gonna drill down in the way that you would get if you're doing scene by scene. So instead, I do recommend breaking it into those chapters or scenes. I personally do it after I write a chapter. So if I'm writing a chapter and I finish it up and like, okay, this is pretty good. I think this works. I will come over to chat and say, hey, chat, how is this particular chapter? Give me the plus and negatives like of this thing. Knowing that this book is an enemies to lovers rom-com. It's book 2. These characters should be somewhat familiar at this point, whatever. And it just helps to give context. And then as you move forward, as you move through the rest of the chapters or the scenes, if you can stay in that particular chat, that's best. There will reach a point, though, in my experience, where the chat will start glitching. If you reach that point and you don't have the custom GPT or project, then I would ask chat to give a summary, like in that window, a summary of everything that you've done so that you can reprompt in a new chat so that it will understand and recognize what you want. Honestly, the best way to keep that context and have it understand everything is by using the custom GPTs and the projects, because then you don't have to keep reprompting it. You can just start a new chat window and it already knows all this information. But not everybody has the capability of doing that. So I want you to stay in the one thread so the GPT keeps context of everything that you've done so far, and it builds upon itself. And so as you are editing the one chapter, if you're down in chapter 10, for instance, it's going to know that these are the things that happened. One of the things that you can also do in order to build context is when the chapter is finished and it's edited, you could say, can you write me a detailed synopsis of this chapter? And then save that into a document, and then you can re-upload just the synopsises. You can upload the manuscript as a whole, like we just said with the ChatGPT, just to give it context, tell it to read it to have context, but otherwise keep everything in one chat. Remind it of character arcs as you go. So if there is something that stands out, remember, you're the person that's in charge of this GPT. So if you're reading it and you're like, that doesn't make sense because the ChatGPT is forgetting about X character arc, or it doesn't know yet about this red herring, or like whatever it might be, because you have the larger context window in essence. Sometimes it's just not going to know things. And so you either have to remind it or give a little bit of foreshadowed information to chat so that it understands kind of where you're going. Because if you do like side tangents, sometimes it's going to think, oh, you should be chopping that off because it doesn't make sense. But you personally, as the author, know that it's going to come back around and it's important, so it shouldn't be edited. And then repeat your goals in the prompt each time. So this doesn't, in my personal opinion, it's like it's not as important as you've been doing it through the chat for a while. It's going to remember that. But if you notice that it's not doing what it was, so it does require a level of awareness of what information you're getting back from ChatGPT. If you're noticing it's getting a little vague or it's kind of hallucinating a little bit, pull it back into its remembrance, like be like, okay, this is enemies to lovers, you're kind of going off on sweet romance here, like what's happening? Just bring it back and remind it what it is that you actually want it to do, and it will be like, oh, oops, my bad. It literally does say things like that, oops, and it will come back into its awareness. So just keep that in mind. If that ever happens when you're going through the chats, sometimes that just happens. I see a couple more questions popping up. Let me double check this here quick. How does this compare with ProWriting Aid? Personally, ProWriting Aid is more like, I don't know. It's been a while since I've used ProWriting Aid, actually. It's more like Grammarly and like following through and like understanding how to be able to write certain scenes, if I'm remembering right with Pro Writing Aid. I don't know how it's been updated personally because it's been probably 2 or 3 years since I've really played around with it. So it's to me, in a lot of ways, it's probably similar. But I just feel like ChatGPT has more, what's the word? More versatility when it comes to everything that you're trying to do, if that makes sense. Do you recommend projects over custom GPTs, especially for books in series? When I first started out, I was doing custom GPTs for the series, but yes, projects are the way to go. And I actually do the projects based off of the book I'm doing, but I do give it the PDFs and the context for the other books so that it can reference and access that information. So projects, now that they've loaded those up, are the way to go. The only thing that I would say with a project versus a custom GPT is that if you have like a co-writer or an assistant who you want to have access, you can't really do that with a project right now. It's literally like localized just to your account. And so with a custom GPT, you can share it to a person or you can like make it public, but you can't do that with projects. But projects, in my opinion, they keep the tone, they keep the style, they keep like everything. It's been really locked in. I've been really impressed. Okay. Would it be cool if everyone please muted? Oh yes, if everyone can mute themselves, that'd be wonderful. Could you please? Oh, there we go. Got a couple of those. Sorry about that. And let's see. You can see this working well with AutoCrit's reverse outline analyzer features. Yeah, you probably can. Yeah, AutoCrit's pretty awesome. They've done a lot of upgrades with their AI stuff too. AutoCrit is pretty neat. It's been a while since I've been in there as well. I think sometimes the problem with AutoCrit is it gives you too much information all at once. That's one of the things that I think has been the biggest struggle for me because I want to just look at a certain piece, a certain aspect of it, and I can go for just the thing that I'm looking for, or I can understand just the component, like the character arc or the whatever. And if I'm looking for duplicate words, or if I'm looking for the pacing versus whatever, it's like I can laser focus myself without getting distracted by all the other shiny bells and whistles. Does that make sense? And so for me, it's more important that I just kind of focus. I have a ADHD thing going on. So as soon as I like start looking at all the things, my brain starts short circuiting, and I'm like, what is happening right now? This is too much. My brain goes, nope, I'm going to do nothing. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's go into line editing. I am also going to see if my line editor one is working or if it's gone. Oh, this one actually worked. That's so strange. Okay, so we are going to swap back over to chat, and I'm going to show you the line editor one. Okay, there we go. So with the line editing, um, the way that I prompted this one is the same kind of thing. And I think that particular slide was supposed to go through it. I'll do it when I come back. But you're a professional line editor who specializes in steamy romantic comedies with sharp banter and emotionally charged tension. So I wanted to be very specific about what's important to me in this particular book, right? So your job is to improve sentence flow, tighten the language, and heighten impact without dulling the spark or changing the author's voice. That's a key thing for a lot of us, right? We don't want our author voices to be dulled or changed or lose them in the process. So I want you to focus on keeping the enemies to lover dynamics with snappy and emotionally loaded aspects, highlight subtle innuendos or double meanings, trimming unnecessary filler while preserving Anna's sarcasm and Joel's charm. Those are the two main characters. So please line edit the following scene. Offer paragraph by paragraph suggestions that enhance the pacing, rhythm, and tone while keeping the humor, heat, and voice intact. So then I pasted the whole like scene. It wasn't a huge scene. It was just a little snippet from I think chapter 1. And so what it does is it takes the parts where it thinks that it can sharpen it the most. So it gives you the original, and then it gives you the edit. And so when you're looking at it, you can decide, okay, do I like this version of it better? And it also gives you the reason for it, right? So tightened for rhythm, added slight slang for a flirtatious jab. But if it doesn't quite line up and you like the original one better, you just ignore it and you move on to the next one. So I would go line by line, literally. And if I liked that one better, or if I liked pieces of it better, like let's say I just liked this part better and not necessarily the way that it changed the beginning part of it, I can just take that, right? It's always up to us to be able to decide what resonates the most and makes us go, yeah, that actually works really good. So it gave a whole bunch of options on how I could sharpen the tone. I can sharpen everything up and give it a more undercurrent depth to it, which is great. And so when I go back and I'm doing the edits, I can choose to add any or all of those things and put them into ChatGPT. And when I'm done with that, what I would normally do then is come back over, paste the entire chapter or the entire scene again, and say, this is how I revised it. How does this look now? Do you have any further clarification, any further edits that I could be working on, or is this good? And allow it to give you more information. Okay. Now we're going to come back over here. Okay, so like I said, it's going to tighten your prose while keeping your tone and personality. It's going to cut the clutter, boost your rhythm, highlight emotional punch, especially if you have a story that it's really emotionally charged or it's meant to have emotional depth. But don't let ChatGPT turn your spicy voice into corporate oatmeal, right? We want it to be fun. Like, we want whatever the tone of your story is to maintain itself. So we need to do that through there. So this is an example of the prompt that you would use so that you can get it in there. You can go more in depth, like I showed you, where you can list out like what are the things that you really want and how do you want it, or you can do something just generic like this and then see what it gives you and then start reprompting it back and forth. For me, I like to give it as much information as possible in the beginning so that it feels like there's less heavy lifting when it comes to like getting the information, because obviously we're reading a lot of information as we're getting it back. And so the more we can prompt and be as in depth up front as possible, the less you're having to read something and really refine it, because chat's going to understand more about how you really want things to be. And by the way, all of these prompts and things I'm going to be giving you, I can actually probably put it in the chat right now just so you have access to it. Where did the chat go? There is a PDF that I created for you guys. Originally, it was just going to be a checklist, but I ended up doing like a whole PDF for you because it worked a little bit better. And there, I do go into more information about the custom GPT versus the projects as well in that specific PDF. I just need to locate it first. And I had it up front, but now I'm like, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Put it there. Gotta make sure it goes to everybody. All right, let me know if you don't see that come through. You can download it from here. It will also go out in the replay. So in the replay email, everything should be in there as well. Okay. So we showed you the line edit in action. Now with proofreading, I'm going to go back out. With proofreading, you're just really honestly having that final polish. You want it to read the chapters or the scenes or whatever, almost like your ARC readers or a good friend that you send it to prior to it publishing, whatever. So they're going to be looking for typos, grammar glitches, and punctuation. You're going to ask it not to reword anything unless it's a true mistake. So it's not necessarily editing anything unless it needs to edit it. And you're going to ask it to preserve your voice at all costs. Yes, even the F-bombs, even the steamy scenes, whatever it might be. This is the example prompt for you, where it's like, you're a professional proofreader who loves whatever your genre is. Your job's to catch and correct grammar, punctuation, spelling, and formatting issues without changing the author's voice or tone. This book includes, like, whatever it might be, intentional slang, contradictions, and contractions, and casual narration. Only correct the things that are objectively incorrect. Return a clean version and optionally list changes. So when you do that, it will call out where the information got changed, where it needed to do it. And oops. And what I've noticed for me is like it'll even tell you like the reason why it did certain things. Okay, you mentioned that it's not very good at not suitable for work scenes. What do you do in the case of wanting to review those types of things? Honestly, I just keep reprompting. When I originally started with chat, it would red flag the whole thing and shut it out. It doesn't do that anymore, especially if you're inside of a project because it understands, like when you're creating the project information, um, you put instructions in there. This is a book. This is part of a series. There will be steamy scenes. We're going to work on them together. You're going to help me develop them. It can get pretty close. Like if you're actually co-writing with chat, it can it can get pretty darn close to the right vibe. I think it kind of taptoes to the edge. It doesn't quite go over the edge and go more graphic. And so if you choose to take it graphic, when you prompt it and say, okay, you're going to be reading a chapter or a scene that is sexually explicit, keep in mind this is a book. It is for people, an audience that wants to read this sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. It will go ahead and do it anyway. It will edit it and it'll let you know everything. I haven't seen it read out the entire chat now for, I don't know, probably 6 to 9 months. It's been a while since it's done that sort of thing. So it's just not great at giving you any kind of explicit scenes, if that makes sense. Okay. Are there any tips? Any Are there any tips you suggest while using chat, or do you, okay, we already talked about that. Did you show how to create projects in ChatGPT at the beginning? No, I didn't, Regina. I think that's going to have to be another class because it gets kind of in depth. And so I'm thinking maybe next month I'll show like the difference between custom GPTs, regular chat, and then projects so that I can really show you the compare and contrast. But in the PDF that I just put into the chat, it does show you how to do it. And so I do give you like step-by-step walkthrough of like how to create a project, which is what I would recommend. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. So let me show you the proofreading version here quick. Okay, so over here, it was kind of the same sort of thing. I told it's a proofreader working on steamy romantic comedy, gave it its job, asked to maintain contractions and natural rhythm, gave all the information about swearing and casual narration, and then pasted the scene. This is like from chapter 3, I think. And so at first it gave me, so this was a great example of how sometimes even when you're giving it as much information as I did in this beginning prompt, it just goes ahead and does the job. And so when it does that and you're looking at it and it's like, okay, well, I have no idea what it just changed. Like, I'm not gonna, what? And so what happens then is then I would say, would you please, I would like to see the specific sections that were changed. Show them to me, please. And so chat will go, oh, okay, no problem. And so it tells you the punctuation fixes, it tells you where and why and how it was edited. It gives like I said, the original, the edited, and then why it did what it did. And then you can choose in just those sections, like you can find and replace if you want to in Scrivener or whatever program you're using for your books. And it just gives you more clarity on like things that could have been better and why did that happen or how can I be better? Um, and so it just allows you to kind of go through and take a closer look at what chat thinks is appropriate versus what you do. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong, but it at least just gives you some more information. And then at the end, it tells you like, if you'd like, I can run the document again with tracked inline comments using Markdown to show deletions and insertions like delete. So it can give you, it's like a Google Doc version to to show you all of that information. So if you've got Google Docs attached through an API to ChatGPT, it'll actually create a Word it's like a Word doc, a doc, and give you the inline information if that's the sort of thing that you'd like to see. Personally, I think that's more work. I just do it based off of what this chat window is telling me, and I just go line by line and I fix it on Scrivener because I'm already in Scrivener. It's like why bring it to Docs to do one more thing? So that's just my personal opinion. But as you can see, there's a lot of information that it gives you, and it tells you, the different types of things that it did, clarity or word choice tweaks, the punctuation, and then formatting and repetition. Okay. If that makes sense. I'm doing a lot of switching back and forth today. Okay, that was the last screen share for chat at the moment, but I want to talk a little bit about when to trust ChatGPT and when to bring in your human touch, because a lot of people have been over the years very concerned about just taking whatever chat says and running with it and then feeling like their voice gets lost or altered, right? So you can trust ChatGPT, in my personal opinion, to identify the repetition, the awkward flow, the missing beats. It really is good at being able to be like a if I want to have it be a rom-com reader and give me some feedback, like they love rom-com with enemies to lovers, and so talk to me like you're a squealing girl who just read like the best rom-com ever. It will do that for me. And sometimes that's super fun, right? But I don't trust ChatGPT to preserve subtext unless it's prompted because sometimes, like I said, it updates itself a lot. And so as new updates and improvements happen in ChatGPT, it can forget certain things, or it can give you information back that isn't quite what you wanted. Okay. And it doesn't nail sarcasm or nuance or really humor at all unless you are giving genre specific context. And usually that requires just a little bit of like your own stuff, like feeding it your own type of humor so that it understands how you would write, how you would speak, how your flow would go. And so when you have the samples in ChatGPT so that it understands what you're after, all of a sudden it gets to work with you and it can create parts of scenes, it can create dialogue, it can create whatever you're not strong at. If you wanted to write a scene and say, okay, chat, I want to be able to add more depth in this particular scene because I'm not really good at describing a setting, for instance. That's not my story. I would rather like do dialogue all day long. So it can give you more depth into the scene and how it could look and how it could flow. And you can choose whether or not to incorporate that, for instance. But it's not great at doing those things unless it knows that's what you're looking for. So ultimately, you are the final creative authority. You need to know that when it comes up with something, you don't always have to take whatever it says. Be critical about it and look at it based off of your context of the story, of the series, of the characters, and what you know is supposed to be. And if it doesn't give you what you want, just reprompt it. Reprompt it over and over until it starts to learn. And that's really ultimately been the secret for me that over the years, it's like when it doesn't quite give me the thing I want, I just reprompt it. It's like when a kid washes dishes for the first time, right? And you're like, hey, wash the dishes. And you didn't give them enough context. And then you're like, what is this? It's not clean. Now you have to show them again or, remind them again. And so it's just building upon all that information so that it can give you the appropriate information back. And it just does a really good job after a while to the point where it's like, it understands brands, it understands your overarching goals and themes. Like it's pretty wild the amount of information that ChatGPT can hang on to. Okay, so don't forget to download your checklist for the editing. It's like the checklist, and then it's actually a guide. It's a whole guide about how to be able to use the projects for this type of thing. So I don't believe you have access to projects if you are just in the free version. But if you're in the plus version, you have access, and it's been a game changer. It really has to be able to help you to just stay in flow with your story or your entire series and like feed the character sheets and all the information. If you have settings, if you have an outline, you can add all of those things into the project and it just keeps it really cohesive. All right, so I am going to stop sharing here and we're just going to go straight into whatever kind of questions you might have beyond this because there's a lot I threw at you. Let's see here. Okay. Nope, doesn't look like there's anything in the chat. Okay, so you can unmute yourself. If you've got questions, let's answer them and see what we can do here. What kind of things are still kind of on your mind or you're going, okay, how do you do this thing?
Yeah, I have a question about if you're a major plotter and you go through an outline and you make sure the outline is perfect and you revise, what type of edits would you suggest for ChatGPT? Like you want to do a line editor for sure, but like more probably a developmental editor and say, here is the outline for chapter one, tighten it up. What kind of prompt would you have for something like that?
Yeah. Okay. So if you went through and you created your own outline for everything, do you do chapter by chapter synopsises too, Regina?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
So what I would do then is give it as much context as possible, put it in like a Word doc or a PDF, and then upload it and have it just like you can prompt it, even though you gave it the whole thing, you can prompt it to just take a look at chapter one, and it will still do that. It will still go to the PDF or the Word document and just say, hey, we're going to start going through this particular outline. I want to tighten everything up just a little bit. So go through chapter one, let me know, what you would recommend. I guess first though, my brain goes, hang on a second. I would probably have it do a full sweep first
That's what I
because
was thinking.
yeah,
Like if I write towards the beat sheet of, let's say, Save the Cat,
mhm,
and I have my outline in Save the Cat format, obviously with a lot more details about the characters and the scenes and what's going on,
yep.
then I could say, please review this outline for Save the Cat, the beats, and offer suggestions or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Any suggestions? I mean, offer suggestions only if you want chat to follow through with it because it will take
Mhm.
anything you put in there very literally. Um, and so just keep that in mind when you're prompting. But I would have it definitely sweep through the whole thing first, just so that it can get the context of the full story and the scope of it, and then say, okay, we're going to tighten it up. So we're going to go chapter by chapter to tighten the scenes using Save the Cat methodology. It's going to know what that is. You don't have to like feed
Yeah.
it information about it. It's gonna find it on the web, and yeah. And so then just go scene by scene or chapter by chapter and allow it to help you tighten it. And when you're done with the book and the writing of it, you can always go back and say, okay, how close were we to this outline? Is there anything that I should double check or anything that we missed that maybe should have been in here that I for whatever reason didn't write in? Like it can find those things for you as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. Just think about like whatever it is that you're looking for and give it as much context up front first, like front load the prompts first and then start going into specifics. But tell it like it doesn't have to do anything with XYZ thing first. You can literally say, "Okay, I'm just giving you this for context. Don't do anything yet." So if
Okay.
you don't want it to do anything, you just want it to read and gain context first, you can tell it to do that too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Sarah, I see your hand's raised. What question you got?
I have a question. So I know you were saying this is a great thing to do before any human ever sees our work. So if this was something that maybe I, so, but it seems like so many agents, so many people, they're all like, was this AI assisted? Was this AI, like what, this is AI assisted in your writing, or if you choose to put it on. So I guess my question here is, it's such a tricky one, right? It's such a tricky thing, but there's so many people that are in the literary world that are so triggered by AI touching anything, even though there's AI in Word, there's AI in,
Yeah.
but do you see? So I guess my question is like, if I were to do this and employ this before I ever send to, say, an agent or, whatever, would I need to disclose that this is an AI assisted I mean, it's an ethics question, and on some level, it's like, well,
Yeah.
how do you feel about it, Sarah? But I'm just curious, to be in conversation
Yeah.
um, around the legal,
Hmm.
the jargon. I'm just wanting to be
Yeah.
respectful to the climate we're in right now, and also to ownership of the projects, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, okay, so I think like Amazon only, haven't looked at the regulation or not the regulations, the terms of service or whatever, for the past 6 months. But I know in the past it was like AI assisted is only if there's a certain percentage of the book that AI technically touched. Like, so even if it's looking at the whole thing, because like you said, in Word or in AutoCrit, like all of the things have AI assistance now. It's like there's an assumption, I think, on most agents and editors and publishers part that there's some AI that's touching this thing somehow because it you can't get away from it.
Right. Everyone
Um
has to spell check.
yeah,
That's AI. Yeah, yeah.
yep, yeah, exactly. So to me, I would say that as long as the story isn't fully written by AI or if um you're only taking sections, I don't really think that there's a huge problem with saying that there's no AI assistance in here because technically you're just using it to be able to sharpen, to tighten, to get your work, better for yourself and for those who are going to read it. And that's an editing process. So I personally wouldn't care. I wouldn't disclose it. It's like you said, it's kind of a minefield. There are some people who are really like uptight about it, but honestly, you are creating something and you're using a tool to help you refine it. And I don't think it's so weird to me. It's like, why are we trying to gatekeep again? It's like a certain level of gatekeeping that just doesn't work for me. And I'm kind of that rebel who was like, I became an indie author in order to not gatekeep myself. So I'm gonna just do what I'm gonna do. Um, so it kind of, yeah, there's a level of, for you, you have to decide where is your threshold when you disclose it, and where is the level where you're just going to be like, this was a tool I was using just to clean up my stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's these are these questions though, right? So I'm like, hey,
Yep.
we're on here. Let me just ask about it
Yeah.
because I don't want to say not say the truth, but I also don't want to like
Yeah.
do something that's not
Well, and
necessary.
if someone specifically asked you, like if you talk to an agent, they're like, "Hey, did you use any AI tools?" You can say, "Yeah, I've used ChatGPT to take a look at my stuff and give me some suggestions for editing, um, small portions of it or whatever, like whatever part you actually did." You can definitely tell them that.
Mhm.
But I don't think that it's really anything, especially in the editing side of things. So I'm thinking about Amazon, that little checkbox. I don't think you have to check the checkbox that it's AI assisted when you're just using it to edit or just using it to create your outlines or go over your outlines. I would say that it's more AI assisted if you are co-writing, with the AI bot or the AI tool. But beyond that, I don't think editing, honestly, I think editing is a fine line where I don't think that that's the case.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And if I was co-writing, then would I just credit my chat?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
you know I
absolutely,
mean it.
you can. Yeah, if you're co-writing with AI, then I would call it AI assisted because you're not letting it write the book for you. You are you are the one in control. So it's AI assisted. It's not necessarily AI written. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Thank you.
that's completely different.
Thank you. It does, you are right. It does seem like such a minefield right now. And so many people
Yeah.
are like, we aren't touching anything that's been touched by AI. And it's such a tricky thing because it's like, well,
Yeah.
there's an AI in our Word docs all along.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
and it's everywhere. It's AutoCrit, it's ProWriting Aid, it's Grammarly. I mean, all of that's AI. Every single thing of it. So if you're doing spell check with Grammarly, you're using AI. So, okay, there's a question here that says, when using ChatGPT free or paid, is it true that anything we feed it is stored in their system and used to train the AI? Well, yes and no. So it does not store personal information from what I have dug into and what I've looked at because it has to draw a line somewhere. So when it's talking to you about your jobs and your career and your goals and your insights and the things that are going on with you, it has to keep a lot of that stuff localized because there's so many users who are using ChatGPT. If it's a broader perspective thing that it hasn't learned about a specific field, for instance, and you are giving it insight, let's say it's into like the process of writing whatever it could be something that's more general, it might make a note of it, but honestly, chat is it's gotten so big at this point, it's crawling a lot of websites, it's doing that information, and the storage for you and your stuff is all localized to your like your GPT, and that's it. So it, from what I have seen and read, that is not the case. It is not training other GPTs. Okay, so when I self-publish on KDP Amazon, it will ask if the cover or any images were generated by AI. Also, if text was generated, but it will say that AI editing is fine. Yeah, yeah, it does say that. Okay, and technically, even if you have an AI generated image that you use for your cover, if you have gone through and created it and whatever, like done all of the typography and whatnot, so you're not using it fully as an AI generated cover, you don't have to check that box for that either because you are still creating, even though there's an AI generated image in it, you're still creating the rest of the cover. Okay, you can also put your chapters into websites that will analyze your words. Yep, and give you a percentage chance that it was written by AI. There, like Grammarly does that. There's a free Grammarly one where it can look through your stuff and let you know what percentage it deems is written by AI. The more you use chat, though, I have noticed, especially if you have a lot of nuance to the way that you write or the type of book that you write or your characters, and you're not just letting the AI like chat write the scene for you and you're just kind of taking a back seat. If you know literally what you're trying to go after, what's been really fascinating for me is that I can have big chunks of scenes where I've co-written with AI, with chat, but it's my scene and I'm telling it exactly how the scene's going to unfold, what I want it to do. I give it that chapter by chapter synopsis, like Regina said, and let it know, like specifically, this is how we're going to have this chapter go. Give me a starting point. And then we go back and forth. Most of the time it comes back 0. And it's like, okay. So I don't know how accurate any of those are. I think they're just there to kind of scare us, to be honest. Okay, so if your text is less than 30, say that isn't, yeah. Yeah, if it's written more than 30%, then you're definitely going more into the AI assisted. Amazon does not object to use of AI. They object to a poor product. Exactly. And there were a lot of people who were writing books through AI and just spamming them out, and there was like no thought process in them whatsoever. They were terrible. They were so bad. Editing's fine. I would not give credit to AI for your completed manuscript if you just use it for editing. I agree. I don't think, honestly, it just feels like it's just another tool to help you clean up your stuff. The thing is, how is that different from yeah, exactly. Giving it to a human friend or a beta reader and asking for their feedback. Exactly. And I've said that before on the podcast and in other classes. When you look at ChatGPT and all of the context that it can acquire for your book, and you're asking for feedback on it, the only difference is that ChatGPT has a larger context of what the reader expectation and the market expectation is going to be. And it would be no different than if you were giving it to an editor and an editor's making these changes. And a lot of us do that once we're done cleaning it up and making sure that it's to the market's standards too, right? So there's such a weird context right now about using AI, but I don't believe, I mean, it's becoming so much more mainstream. Like when I look back even 2 years ago, so many more people are using it, are loving it, who are understanding the true ramifications and context of using it in terms of growth. And I think if you're not using AI, you're in a sense being left behind, because the people who are, they're getting better. They're getting better at their writing, they're getting better at their editing, they're getting better at their marketing, they're getting better at publishing faster. So there's a lot to be said here about letting go of the fear of what people are thinking of your books and going more into what feels right to you and what is resonating with you on how you want this to be and how you want this process to go for you. And if there's ever been sticking points in your author journey, like editing, using it or finding a way to use ChatGPT to help you to be better, that's progress. And that's going to help you to level your own self up. And we're living in like a capitalistic society that's like collapsing right now. And so if we want to be able to take care of ourselves, sometimes we have to just go ahead and go like, you know what? They're telling me this is not a good thing, but my instincts are telling me something different. And sometimes they are in opposition. And so for me, AI is definitely one of those tools where I was not afraid of it even in the beginning. It was like I saw its potential immediately. And it's all up to us on what we're going to take, what we're going to leave, how we're going to use it, how we want it to be incorporated in our business and our lives. But I have found so many uses, way even beyond writing, that I use ChatGPT for every day, like manifestation wise, like creating scripts for podcasts, or at least outlines, creating an entire launch strategy. There's so many ways to be able to use chat. It's incredible. Okay, do you use different projects or different books within one series, or do you use the same project for all of the books? I personally like to have one project for the one book. And the reason I do that is because I want it to be laser focused on the two main characters, or whatever character sheets I've put up. I just give it the other books and reference, so that when I'm first starting out with it, I'm telling it in the instructions, you know what, we're going to be doing this. This is book X number. Make sure that you are familiar with books 1 and 2 and 3. And now we're going to start working on book 4. So I need you to have the context and clarity of what the series looks like and these characters. But overall, this book is going to be about X. And when you're done with it, you can either archive that project or you can leave it there and that's fine. Like for me, if you need to go back, um, to use, like if you use that particular project, not only are you working on it for your book, but you can use that project then because it understands the entire dynamic of your series and that particular book. Start asking it questions on like social media. How do I create a TikTok video that's going to be really awesome and get readers who like XYZ to come find this book? Or write a newsletter for me around a part of this book. Pick something that you think is really cool, or like all of the different, like all sorts of things. There's so many ways that you can still use the context, and it's not just about writing that book. It's going to understand so much more about the marketing part of the series or the books too. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, Terry.
If you use Grammarly and it has AI, how is its AI, since I haven't used Grammarly for over a year, unfortunately, yet, um, how is it any different than using ChatGPT? I mean, what does it do differently with AI than ChatGPT?
Well, Grammarly to me, it's more like the inline editor for like Word or whatever Word or Docs or whatever. So it will highlight a section and it will give you different colors to be able to know, like, is it just a word that needs to change? Is there grammar, punctuation that needs to change? Does it recognize that this sentence could be clearer if you did something else? So it will highlight them like Word documents did with the spell check. So that's how it's different there. Where if you do it in ChatGPT, it's going to give you the full edit like we've seen, and then it's going to tell you why. Um, you get a little bit of that information when you pay for the Grammarly Pro or whatever, because when you hover over it, it's going to tell you why it thinks it should change. But honestly, I don't know that that's there's so much more versatility on what I can use with ChatGPT. I would rather pay for the plus version of ChatGPT. I can create images, I can create videos, I can research. Like there is so many uses to chat that it far exceeds the use of Grammarly. So I mean, I have Grammarly, but I just have the free version at this point. I used to have the paid version.
Yeah, so it's not something that you do like you do AI. I meant ChatGPT. It's not like you can say, I want this tone or something. It won't do that. It'll just go through the
Kind
function.
of. I mean, it gives you like when you paste into a Grammarly doc, for lack of a better word, you paste it in there. Like so we're talking about not using necessarily like the plugins where it's checking as you're writing in a context window for pretty much anything on the internet, or other places where it's been integrated. But when you put it into a Grammarly doc, it will have like a pop-up that says, okay, what is your tone or what is the reasoning for this? So there's like little buttons that you can click, but it doesn't get as specific. Like you can't tell it, oh, this is going to be, a steamy rom-com. So pay attention to that. It doesn't do that.
Yeah,
And so it's,
I was
yeah,
just how it goes differently. Because
yeah,
I know I think I heard that it was in Grammarly, but I haven't tested it, so I didn't know how different it was than just that. I know I really do like the Chat GPT for synopsis. Oh my gosh, that was great. So
yeah,
really
yeah.
this to do some of these things. So
That's definitely one of the benefits of chat too. You can put the entire chapter in there. I think I mentioned that, and ask it to do, just even in a paragraph, a quick synopsis of what just happened, and then I copy and paste that into my Scrivener, where it's like the little synopsis section on Scrivener, just so that when I'm going through, I can remember. Like if I have to find the chapter that had something wild happen, I can quickly and easily like look through the little things, or if I needed it to just have context of the story, I can put them all together and say, hey, this is the chapter by chapter synopsis of what's happening in this book. Obviously, there's more depth to it, but take a look at this and let me know what you think of the story arc or whatever.
yeah, so you get some advice from it, which is
Hmm.
the Grammarly thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Okay. So what is this? Just looking at the paid versions of chat, is Pro the only version that offers projects, or no, Plus does it too? And what do I think of? I think Claude, honestly, Claude was for a beat there. It was starting to look like it was going to beat out ChatGPT. because the context window that it had was so much larger. But OpenAI started changing things and like working around things, and it's gotten to the point now where it's like I don't even go over to Claude anymore to play with things because chat has gotten so used to like the scope of everything I do, because it's not just my writing. It knows about author evolution. It knows about manifest differently. It knows about my manifestation style and the things that I'm trying to do. It knows about the two um, freelance clients that I still work with. It's wild how it then builds out a context of you and everything that you're doing. And so then when you're not necessarily inside a project or a custom GPT and you're just talking in chat 4.0 or O3, either one of those, it understands you on a holistic level, and it can help you to identify areas in your business, in your life, in the way you're operating, whatever it might be, and tell you very honestly, if you ask it, how to be better. So like when, whenever I ask chat, I'm like, where could I be better? Like how do I scale blah 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 from here to there? It always tells me to like prune everything else and focus on one thing. And I'm like, I can't focus on one thing, damn it. No. Oh gosh, it's funny. Oh, but it's pretty cool. You can have it be brutally honest. Yes, so I use Plus, not Pro. The one thing is they did have a Pro version, and I'm not seeing it when I just click on it, which is kind of weird. They had was it Plus Pro, or it was like a step up from Plus, but I'm not seeing it on here at the moment. Oh, there it is. It was Team. Okay. So when you go to Team, it's $25 a month, but it's $25 a month per user. So if you had more people that you wanted to use together, you have to have at least two users, it says. So that's $50 a month. So it says 25. It's kind of cheeky. They lie. But each user is $25. But what's nice about that is it unlocks the latest, whatever it might be, the latest version of chat unlimitedly. So you don't have like the caps that we do if you're in Plus or in the free version for the time frames. Okay, I heard Muse is an AI designed just for writers. I've heard that as well. I haven't tried that one though. Okay, have you done a workshop on using GPT to manifest? I have, let's see, I have a podcast episode or two, a couple of them. And then I also have a core wounds one, but I haven't done a manifestation with GPT actually for a while. So it's something that I could think about doing. If there's a specific way or thing that you're trying to do to manifest, I could like hone in on that. I find Chat 4.0 to be highly collaborative. It is super good, isn't it, John? I agree with that. Chat 4.0 has been an upgrade that has been pretty wild because it understands across all your chats too, where it wasn't always that way. So even though I'm telling you to do it all in a single chat window, it will understand and remember certain things about all chats that you've done, but its scope is still kind of limited as of right now. And so it's better to keep everything in one chat window or in the project just to keep things tight. But it's overall so much better. It's a super good project, or super good version of chat. Is there anything that I'm missing? Are there any classes, any ChatGPT classes that you would like to see me do? Like, so manifestation, I could definitely do, but I have a crafting dynamic characters one that I've done in the past, but I haven't done for Author Revolution that I could always create and relaunch. If you're interested in learning how to craft the dynamic characters that you then can build your entire book or series around and then upload the character sheets to ChatGPT. Is there anything else that you're kind of stuck on that you're wondering how you can use it? Did I just stump all of you in one go? Oh my gosh. Oh, funny. There's a lot of uses, that's for sure. I mean, myself, when I use it, I have a special project where it's literally my AI assistant. It knows that when I start the day, like, so I give it information, like I go full woo. I give it information on the astrology for the year so that it knows whenever it pulls information for today, it knows the context of like astrology. It knows my human design. It knows my birth chart. It knows my Clifton strengths. It knows my goals. It knows like my quarterly goals. It knows what I'm trying to create per quarter. Like I give it a lot of information in that project. And so when I log in and I say, "Hey Nova," because that's my chat's name for my, I don't know, it named itself. So, "Hey Nova, what's on the agenda for today?" It knows what the day is, and then it knows to give me all of the information based off of my human design, based off of what I'm trying to manifest, based off of like where I'm at in my project cycle, like all the things. And it just gives me a whole big list of things that I can either focus on and get my vibe in the right place, or literally be trying or testing to see if it could pull in or manifest something else. So I could do like a lesson on how that works too. It's pretty fun to create an assistant that can help you. And it's based off of what you want to know every day. Like what would help you get into the vibe where you're like, I can conquer the freaking world. Yeah, building a VA. I can definitely do that. So that's another one. And that's again in a project. I didn't do that as a custom GPT because I wanted it to house uh, I don't know. It just, for whatever reason, it feels to me like the projects house things a lot better. The custom GPTs are great, like don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, it's awesome. Occasionally, it will get slower than usual. Haven't been able to figure out why. When it gets slower and it feels like things are like it's either not giving you the information that it normally would or whatever, that's typically because they're in the process of upgrading it, and so they're rolling out the system upgrade. And so everything gets really wonky and slow, and you're like, what is happening? And sometimes it's also, I've noticed if I've used it a lot during the day and I haven't necessarily reached my cap for whatever, I can't even remember what the cap is anymore when you're on Plus. If I'm getting close to my cap though, because I use it a lot, like all day long, um, it gets a little bit slower, glitchy too, but I think it's just because it's trying to prioritize those people who haven't used as much.
It makes
Which is
sense.
kind of funny. But
The deal you're talking about as far as the upgrades makes sense because it seems to cluster
mhm.
a certain period of time where all of a sudden it slows up.
Yep. And
Yeah.
or it starts glitching or hallucinating during that time frame too, where you're like, why are you doing this? Like, what is going on right now? You're not even making sense to me. That's usually when I'm like, okay, I think it's time to log off for today. Yep. Okay, also, I'd love to see the way you use a project for marketing purpose. Okay. Yep. So marketing with chat. Absolutely. There's so many different unique ways to be able to do it. And as authors, it understands Facebook ads, it understands Amazon ads, it understands BookBub ads, it understands newsletters, newsletter swaps, social media marketing. If you're just trying to be organic and create things, it can create TikTok scripts, like literally anything that you can think of, it's going to be able to help you figure out. And if you're like, I have no idea what to talk about today, it will help you with that too. It will give you an entire plan based off of your books, based off your backlist, based off the characters, based off their themes. Like it's wild what it can give you information on. So you are never at the whim of going, I have no idea what I want to talk about. The chat will help you. You could literally say, chat, I have had nothing go on in my life for the past 3 months, but the sky is blue, so that's good. And it will give you something to talk about. It's pretty cool. Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think what other aspects do we as authors kind of have sticking points in? Because chat has been like literally the best thing that I have used in all the tools that I've ever used. Um prompt game needs support. Okay. So perhaps creating a way to be able to do prompts. For me, it's super interesting because as long as I remember that it just needs context and I treat it like a new employee or I'm training my kid to do something for the first time, I'm usually pretty good at it. And keep in mind too, like if you have the app version on your phone, you can technically do it on the computer now too. There's like a little microphone. It's not great though. I've tried to do the microphone text to speech and then it glitches out and bins out and I'm like, ugh. So I just use that when I want to speak it because there's something on my mind and I'm not sure how to sort out the information and write it properly. And I speak a lot faster than I type, which is weird because I type pretty fast. But if I have something big and I don't quite know how to structure it in a good prompt, I will just word vomit the entire thing out in like a really long rant on the app version. And you can either do this with the text to speech that's native to ChatGPT or native to your phone. There's two different ways. Or you can do it where it's a chat back and forth, where it's the voice AI talking to you too. So if there is something that you're like, "Ah, there's something on my mind and I'm not sure how to fix it, maybe it's a plot hole and you're thinking about it and you don't know how to fix it, or you don't know how could this thing work? Literally pick up your phone, word vomit it out to chat, and then let it do its magic and you'll be amazed. Or you can go back and forth and, like I said, have an actual chat with the AI voice. I find that the AI voice is a little bit too slow for me, and I wish I could speed it up. So I just read it, but they're pretty cool too. Any other questions or anything else coming up for you guys? I'm glad my voice came back. I was a little worried there for a minute. Oh, this cold, or I think it's allergies because it's not a cold. It's just, oh, all of a sudden my nose will freak out my throat and then I'm dying. Oh, yay for springtime. Oh, it's just been crazy. It's been amazing. Came at the right time. I'm so glad that it did. Yay. I'm so glad, Karina. Well, awesome. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'll be getting the replay into YouTube and into, like, if you're in the masterclass membership, I'll make sure that it goes into that place as well. I'm not quite sure if it'll be right away tonight or if I'll have to do it tomorrow. I have to go pick up my daughter and drive her all the way to Aiken, which is like the opposite direction of where I got to pick her up because she's going to a concert tonight. So I get to be like shuttle mom, and I'm not quite sure how fast I can get this uploaded before I got to leave. But if you don't see the replay tonight and the information for the download, just hang tight and it will be tomorrow. So, all right. Well, and if you do think of anything else that you would like to see as a class, feel free to always email me. So it's Carissa@authorrevolution.org. I love to hear feedback on what you're looking for or what you would like assistance on, because that helps me to be able to give classes that are of most benefit to you guys. Okay. All right. Thank you. This has been great. Heading out. Okay, guys. Well, it sounds like we're all doing good. So I guess we'll see you all next time. Okay. Have a great rest of the day and weekend.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.